I chair the group there, and I declared a couple weeks ago on it, so I'll reach out to the Mayor of the Month to read those bylaws, and I'll forward the documents to the clerk. Thank you. Item number 4, public meetings. Seeing none. We have reading confirmation of the minutes of the regular council meeting 28th to 2018 and regular in-camera meeting 28th of May 2018. Moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Deniers. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. And we go right to deputations and presentations. I have a couple of special presentations today to award. If you're looking at your 6.1 on your agenda, we have successfully completed our first annual inaugural Mayor's History Hunt. I have Mr. Hughes in the audience, and we also have a recipient or recipients. Both are in the audience, so I'm going to work my way up towards the podium with Mr. Hughes, and I'm going to award and announce first and second place. They've done some presentations already at the school, but I'll have an opportunity to read you the awards. I'll be right there. So, this is Jacob, correct? Isaac, I apologize. Isaac, yes, and this is Bryn. Nice to meet you. Okay, so we're very excited today to present first place and second place of the Mayor's Hunt. It was very successful with the guidance of Mr. Hughes and the Historical Society and staff. We put out about 2,500 passports throughout the community to all the elementary schools. And we rolled it out, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks ago through council, and they had a mission of getting downtown Belleville to looking at the new plaques that were presented on behalf of the Historical Society. And we had a first place, second place, and third place. So our first place winner is Isaac Levy, correct? You will hold this, and this is a certificate for you, and it says, Corporation City of Belleville recognizes your participation first annual Mayor's History Hunt and wishes congratulations to you in taking the initiative to learn more about the historic people and places in our wonderful city of Belleville. That is for you, sir. And I will read his award, which you already got some stuff already at the school, correct?
No, not yet.
Nothing. Oh, this is going to be a nice surprise. First place winner, Belleville Center's Experience. Isaac Levy, you and 3 other friends will enjoy a Belleville Center's game in the 2018-2019 season and behind-the-scenes dressing room tour with the team personnel, an exclusive look at the Belleville Center's operation. How about a round of applause? Congratulations! All right. You hold that. You hold that. And I'll hold this for you. And
Hold it up so we can
there we
take
go.
some pictures.
Hang on. Come on in. You're going to see this. You coming in, Fitz? Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Big smile for the camera.
There we go.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Okay.
This is for you. You can put that right inside.
It's all yours.
That's yours. And we also have a few gifts in here from City Council for you. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay, you can have a seat there. So, second place, we have Bryn Barrett. Welcome to City Council. So, second place in the Mayor's History Hunt. You are the recipient of 8-Wing Trenton, CFB winner. Bryn, you and 3 others will enjoy an 8-wing tour Thursday, August the 23rd, 2018. Details include small arms training simulator. You get to shoot people. Experience the latest high-tech simulation for virtual scenarios. Air traffic control. It is awesome up there. You get a chance to go up there. You'll visit the folks who will keep the airfields and skies around Trenton safe. And you'll also get to tour RCAF aircraft. Congratulations. Round of applause. And we also have a certificate for you. Corporation City of Belleville recognizes the Mayor's Hunt for History, historic places, and wonderful downtown Belleville. Congratulations. You can hold that.
No, I haven't gone.
When everybody else.
Sure. Wait, I haven't gone. Wait, I did this one first. I haven't got this one yet. And then I'll get to Isaac. Okay, Isaac.
Okay, let's get you big up. All right. We're good.
And I can't see what you want on the thing. Excellent. Thank you.
Celebrities, yeah. Right in here. Yeah, I have a bag here for you also. Thank you very much. Excellent. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Great pleasure.
Okay, so congratulations to the students and congratulations to Mr. Hughes and all the volunteers. Sincerely, big time thank you. It gave the opportunity for the youth in our community, which there's been a drive nationally, provincially, and locally of getting our youth engaged and involved. And you've set the stage very high, and I really sincerely appreciate it on behalf of all of staff and all of council. I mean, that was monumental. 2,500 passports. We actually thought it'd be like maybe 100, maybe 200, so it worked out extremely well. And he's already initiated discussions for next year and maybe looking at different age groups and different classes. So thank you very much for everything that you do for our community. It means a lot to us. 6.2, very special presentation to Susan Sweet, which will be the Provincial Senior of the Year Award. And if I can meet her up front. So, we have a provincial certificate here, Senior of the Year Award, and you don't look like a senior, I'll tell you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
2018, on behalf of the province of Ontario and the city of Belleville and our municipality, congratulations to Susan Sweet. Recognition of your outstanding contributions to our community after the age of, do you believe that? Congratulations.
Your eyes are going to wait. What I want to
Council would like to congratulate you.
Oh, thank you.
Our staff. Of course. You went so many. Oh, we got there for you. I mean, you say a couple words.
Okay.
Take your time.
Well, I honestly thought I was here to accept a part of a presentation to Kiwanis, so I'm totally shocked and surprised. And Belleville's a great community. I've lived here all my life. I've been very blessed in a number of ways, and through the volunteer work that I do, it's my way of giving back to this wonderful community. So thank you so much, and yeah, I'm just shocked. Very pleasantly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And congratulations. 6.3 on our agenda, Mr. Richard Quinney from Signal Brewery will make a deputation to council. Is Richard in the... Yes, he's there. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me a moment to speak. As mentioned, my name is Richard Cornier. I'm an entrepreneur. I retired in 2014 only to start a new business that actually is a lot more vibrant than my old one. We make beer, and we make lots of it. Our beer is now poured across the province, and it's moving very quickly for us. I don't know of another brewery that's had the type of start that we've had at Signal. It's not only exciting for us, it's actually exciting for our community because we're creating a destination tourism location that is bringing a lot of people off the 401 and that have never been to our city before. And we're what you call front of the line. We're the very first point of contact for many of those people originating a visit to our city. It's an easy property to celebrate. What happened in Corbyville over the past generations with manufacturing of whiskey and the families that were involved in that process is extraordinary, and it's definitely the impetus that a young business like ours, Signal Brewery, are taking advantage of and actually telling the story and celebrating the people that went before us in our community. Our social traction with regards to social media is actually twice as large as the city of Belleville's and growing every day. And for that, it's mind-blowing. So we're active on Facebook, we're active on Instagram, and every day it gets more and more interesting. And what it's done, actually, the brewery, is we've been able to hire now 38 staff in just 11 months as a young startup. I thought it was like a 4 or 5 person venture when I first started, but the magnitude and the interest in craft beer and more specifically our property and what we have to offer is quite strong. And those people that we've hired are mostly young people that are maybe 25 to 35, and the craft beer business is like a craft artist, an artist that would paint a canvas, and these people celebrate making beer and all different iterations of their beer in a way that's very connectable. And all of our beer that goes out in bottles has Corbyville's name on it, and our mantra is history made again. I don't want to be here today. I have a lot better things to do than come and stand before you today. But we're a young business that requires certain assets to be able to thrive and continue to expand. About 2.5 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, someone was in front of our property with a measuring stick of sorts, and I'm quite the inquisitive one as it relates to our property, so I went out and I said, "So what are you doing?" And the gentleman said that he was measuring our road because City Hall was considering taking away our parking in front of our property along the road. And I went, "What?" And so I think altogether we have close to 600 parking spots, and we see upwards to 2,000 guests a weekend right now, and that's a lot of people traffic, probably more so than you'd see going to the Glamour House. But my point is, it came back to the Transportation Committee, and the Transportation Committee, I never received any information that my business was being discussed, that it was being considered to take the on-street parking away from us. There was a business that was immediately beside us that had enjoyed on-street parking for the last 25 years, and they just retired in January, and nothing's really changed in that regard. So the current parking practices are what we've kind of inherited and adopted. But when I found out it was coming to the Transportation Committee through Councillor Panchuk, who was kind enough to let me know that my business was being discussed, I made a point of attending. And thinking that my parking was going to be taken away altogether, I was the very first person to speak at the meeting. And I was told that the direction came from the mayor's office to have our parking removed. And the police were also present for this particular meeting, and they said they had no complaints. No complaints. So I thought, why is it that my little business is being discussed in a meeting that could impact me by having our parking taken away? And so I spoke to the issue really out of desperation that we're going to lose our parking. And I spoke to it from the perspective, if you're going to take some away, just take one side away, thinking I was going to lose it at all of it. So my deputation, I did that, I spoke, and then afterwards I was given the information from the committee that, oh no, we were just going to look at taking one side of the street parking away, which was, again, another disadvantage. So I just don't understand why, one, it was such a high priority that the parking was being discussed in my absence, as it would impact us and people that are employed in our community and our guests, without my knowledge, and why it was such a high priority process that it circumvented the Transportation Committee and what came directly from the mayor's office. And I don't know, maybe it's personal, I'm not sure. In 2014, I did run for mayor of the city. I'm not sure if the mayor and I have made peace that he beat me, but I lost. And I think I won, actually, in losing.
Councillor Thompson?
I'm not finished yet. I'm just about done. I have some moments.
Excuse me, sir. I'm recognizing Councillor Thompson.
I'm not speaking badly. My apologies.
Can you, just stay focused on your deputation and we're good to go, sir.
Okay, so, which brings me to getting a phone call from the press where they wanted my comments, because without my participation, they suggested that maybe there was more to the story than was actually being presented. So I'm here to answer any questions from council, and I apologize if I hurt any feelings with what I've just said, but my feelings have been hurt too. So let's talk about it. And in a spirit of collaboration, which is the mantra of the day, where people have a discussion and they work collaboratively, like we have telephones where I could receive a phone call that this was going to be discussed, but it wasn't. So let's figure it out now.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, question for the deputation?
Sorry, Richard. First of all, congratulations on your business. I've been there. It's a beautiful business. And,
thank you.
And but I'm a little annoyed the fact that you put that spin on it, that perhaps something that happened because you ran in 2014. I can tell you, and I have family out there, and I drive by there all the time. I have received complaints, and
you have?
Your deputy, yes.
Okay.
But nothing was done with it. But I've received probably 4 or 5 about their parking when they go down through. The people are trying to get close to your front door and park in.
We do have people that have ambulatory issues coming to our front door, so parking in front of the brewery is actually an advantage for people that are somewhat disadvantaged moving around. So everybody wants to be as close as they can.
Absolutely, and just addressing this for the first time myself, I don't know the history of the traffic committee and stuff like that, but I am telling you that I have received complaints, other places too, but yours, about your place.
I know that St. Mark's, they park on the streets as well, and other businesses through the street.
Mr. Cornier, would you allow him to finish?
Can I finish?
I thought it was a discussion. He was asking me a question.
No, allow the councillor to finish his
Thank
question.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry, anyway, I'm trying to make the facts straight. I mean, you laid out a set of facts. And the people that complained to me never ran against you or anything else. They just drive. There are people that live out there and they drove there. So be careful my suggestion is be careful when you throw that out there.
I already apologized.
Okay. Anyways, I have noticed a big crowd. I have no complaint, but I've noticed, and you're right, I never thought about the ambulatory people. I never considered that. But there are people that try to get close to the door. And my suggestion is if you have 600 parking spots, why don't we use them?
They are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce? Thank you.
First of all, congratulations as well. I've been into your business, and it's doing quite well. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks, Edgerton.
My question is, have you had an opportunity to read the, it was the report that came from Mr. Simpson, who's our professional engineer for senior project managers. He's our road expert.
It was never sent to me.
Okay, I'm asking if you've had an opportunity.
I never
to read
have, no.
where he goes on to mention that the road is insufficient for parking on both sides. And I'm wondering if when you came to the traffic committee meeting, and there was discussion, and I know you attended and you heard the discussion of the report, I'm wondering, at the time, a recommendation was made that partial parking in front of your facility to accommodate, as you said, people that want to be able to park. I'm not sure if it was for your staff or for who it was. If you recollect that discussion taking place and that motion taking place, that there would be, total parking wouldn't be eliminated on both sides. There would still be parking in front of your facility.
That information was after I made my deputation, and then I was handed the information from your committee. So I never seen any of the information in advance of your discussion where you made your decision.
No, I'm asking you if you were present when we made our decision.
I was present. I wasn't able to participate in the discussion at that time.
But you did hear our decision, and since have you seen the decision that was rendered?
No, I have not.
Okay, so when you received nothing from our city clerk in terms of the decision?
I received something from the city clerk that suggested that there was a decision, and I had called in advance to be able to come and speak to the issue.
Okay, and I'm asking if you knew that there will be parking in front of your facility.
And I think that's interesting, and it's important that that happens. When I built my business plan originally, Edgerton, I thought the business was all about millennials. And we actually had a lady visiting our facility about a month ago who celebrated her 100th birthday. And I thought that was pretty awesome. She definitely wasn't in my business plan. And people like that love beer, and they still love community, and that's what we're building in Corpyville. And so the fact that it would still be allowed at some amount in front of our space, that would be ideal, because we have music artists that come and load in, as well as older people, as well as lots of different things. So.
Thank you. But and isn't that what the traffic committee is allowing at the current?
No, I was understanding they're taking it away on the one side altogether.
No, but I'm talking about the other side. Is there not going to be allowed some parking in front of your facility?
I think it's the west side. That's what's being proposed. But there is also the other issue of a fairly fast amount of speed that people move through that section as well. So older people and people that are just have small families, children come into our facility. There is a lot of people moving through there fairly quickly. So I'm a little bit concerned about their safety. So maybe we should be talking about some type of traffic calming solution as well.
Absolutely. And as I chair the active transportation, traffic calming is going to be discussed. And I think we actually mentioned that at the meeting that you attended. And so I just want to say that safety is paramount. The staff that wrote this report, it doesn't matter. We get reports coming from individual councillors or requests coming from individual councillors. A lot of people in the community will contact whomever, whether it's Councillor Carr or Councillor Thompson or the mayor's office, and through those avenues, that's how reports generally come to our traffic committee. But I can tell you, regardless of where it comes to, we certainly listen. Safety is paramount for the traffic committee, and we certainly listen to when our professionals, when our professionals say, we're not recommending it. Our staff say we're not recommending it. We have an obligation to provide safety for the community and to abide by, or at least listen closely to what they're saying.
Councillor Boyce, I appreciate your comments. Just I have one comment back to you, if that's allowed. is it unusual that the chair of the committee wouldn't even be aware of the process taking place to actually consider a revision to parking when the chair actually hasn't even heard about it? And maybe Councillor Panchuk could answer that.
Councillor Boyce, you're all done?
If that's a question to me, whether it be Councillor Panchuk or Councillor Thompson or myself, we all get the you know, the reports. We received that report ahead of time. It wasn't just handed to us. And like I say, I've sat on traffic for a number of years. I used to be chair, and I can tell you that you know, I've received them from a number of individual councillors, and I've received them from the mayor's office, who generally people, you know, when they don't know who to call, if they don't know the councillors, they'll call, you know, let's call the mayor, let's call the mayor's office, and those reports get down here. So I can tell you, our decision was based on listening to our professionals that wrote the report, and if you haven't seen the report, I would certainly provide you with a copy of it.
Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Panchuk?
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cornier, for coming. And I also would like to congratulate you for your Renaissance project in Corbyville. You've taken history and brought it back to life with your project.
Thank you.
I understand your frustration as well. And I do want to have the record set straight, though, because perhaps council will understand more about your frustration if they understood the timeline. You originally contacted me the day that city staff were on site to measure your street, and you asked me, you know, why the traffic committee was taking this action. At that time, what I told you was this was news to me, that I had not heard about any of this, any complaints coming into the traffic committee, or any issues there. Subsequently to that, the next traffic committee had this item on the agenda with the report. So I took the courtesy at that time to contact you to let you know that it was coming before the traffic committee, after you had contacted me originally for that.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure that is clear so people understand the process. You know, I've gone to your establishment a number of times, and I've enjoyed it, and I've always parked on the street, and I haven't had any situations where I have felt unsafe or was causing any hazards. Have you had any incidents or near misses or complaints from your patrons who were parking on the street complaining about the safety there?
No, honestly, I haven't. There's so many people coming and going, and we're in the country, right? So it's a, you know, we have a gravel parking lot, and the road's narrow, actually based on the historic use of what was there previous. So it had another row of buildings that were on the other side at one time. So it's unique. It's like Quebec City, so the road's not standard width there. And but that's what makes it special.
Do you find, I know you mentioned traffic and speed on the street. Do you find that that's more of an incident when there is parking on the street or when there's not parking on the street? Can you give me the question one more time? So you mentioned that sometimes there's speed concerns along that stretch of road. And I guess I'm asking you, if you notice it, is there more likely to have a speed concern when there's nobody parked on the street or when there are cars? Actually, the more cars that are on the street, it actually has a natural way of traffic calming. And so, you know, the more the merrier, and it slows things down naturally. However, we had a concert the other night, and it was quite well attended, and we took the advice of the police who were actually at that particular meeting, and they suggested about putting cones in the middle of the road. So we actually did that ourselves as an initiative, and it actually helped as well. But who'd have thought that it would be actually going so fast and so busy in Corbyville? And it's only going to get busier, and we celebrate that, and I appreciate any help that you can provide us. So. A few weeks ago, I attended the craft show that was held. It looks like at the River Inn and your facility. Yeah. And there was significant people there. Parking lots were full. The road had parking on both sides for several kilometers. You know, before the properties and afterwards. And, you know, and as I drove by, I slowed down and drove carefully. Did you have any incidents that day in terms of dangerous driving or any concerns about near misses?
We actually had over 2,500 guests in that weekend, and we never had any incidents at all. Actually, people seemed to attract people, and when people drove through, they were so curious about what was going on. It was pretty amazing to watch. That particular event is in its 10th year, and it's been going on for 9 years like that, and it's sort of a spring passage there, and we just kind of dovetailed into it. But it wasn't a problem before, but seems to be a problem now.
Sure. Well, and my last question then is in terms of next steps. And as I said, I certainly appreciate you starting your business. You've generated taxes revenue for the city on that part of the city that we didn't have before. You're providing a service to that neighborhood. It's very, very good. The recommendation that came out of the traffic committee was to restrict parking on the one side, and you did speak to that at that meeting in terms of recommending that. Can you just make it very clear for myself and my colleagues what exactly you're asking for us to, what action you would like to see us take today with respect to this issue?
I'd like us to do nothing because it's not broken. And, if it's someone's perspective that it is broken, I would welcome a conversation where we could sit down as entrepreneur, investing in our community, to the people that represent us in this community, to be able to have a dialogue and say, hey, how can we make this better? How can we provide an environment for you to be able to grow your business in our community? And what's really amazing is this whole brewery tourism thing has put us into the same narrative as what's happening in Prince Edward County. I remember when I was the chamber president, and I was also the chair of the regional marketing board, and I sat with this team here in one of the committee meetings here at City Hall, and we talked about what it was that actually made Belleville connectable as it related to tourism. And the people at the table had a real hard time figuring out what it was. That was before we had an AHL franchise. That was before we had a casino. But now we actually have a brewery, which is something really amazing for us. And it's just, I'm a very engaging kind of person, and I welcome any conversation that would resolve issues like this, because it's a partnership. We've established our business in this community to work alongside our family and friends to the betterment of the community, and that's what we're doing as an entrepreneur.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Councillor Graham, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry. Okay, I can't see it.
A follow-up. What exactly is your complaint? Is it the parking you're here to plead for?
I wouldn't. Thanks for your.
Finish?
Yes, sorry.
Or you're here to throw aspirations at other areas.
What are you suggesting? Sorry, Councillor, what are you suggesting?
No,
I'm sorry, what were you suggesting?
Will you allow him to finish?
He made a suggestion there.
We're going to get through this.
Okay.
Just allow him to finish the question. And we'll get through deputations.
Richard, I'm just trying to clear up, okay? I understand the parking. We deal with thousands of parking issues every day. They're unpopular or not. Yours is before the board. Is that your complaint here today?
Here's my complaint, Councillor Graham. I'm running a business in Corbyville, Ontario, paying into the public purse tax-wise. I've made a significant investment in the community, in an area that was abandoned and destitute and falling down, and we've created an environment now that people want to come to and enjoy and celebrate our community in a new way. And I don't have a complaint. I'm here because an initiative brought forward by the Mayor's office as it relates to parking in front of Signal Brewery is up for discussion. I wasn't part of the initial discussion as it relates to why I'm here today, so I'm here supporting my brand, Signal, and as a business person, because I don't like it being talked about in the press in a negative way. I've done everything I can to project a positive message as it relates to our new business.
Okay. You understand we have an engineer report suggesting...
I saw the engineer, and I met with the gentleman on site.
Okay, but that's not acceptable to you.
I was curious why he was there in the first place.
But his recommendation is no parking, or parking on one side, my understanding of parking one. And as you stand here today, that's unacceptable to you?
I don't think it's broken. I think it's an issue that I don't understand why we're even talking about it. There's many other larger issues in the city than parking in front of Signal Brewery to be discussed at this time.
Thank
You're
you,
kidding me,
Councillor.
right? You're kidding me, right?
I am not kidding you, Councillor Graham.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cart, you're in the queue, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Christopher. Thank you, Mr. Cornier, for coming. A lot of times people ask me why I spend my time looking at the mechanics of local government, and then once we get into those debates, everybody's eyes glaze over. But it's reasons like this that I do focus on process, because it serves back to the community such as yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
There are some broken aspects to it, and I'll just share a little bit. There's things that I brought forward to the traffic committee that I don't necessarily get responses back, keeping in mind that I might be the go-between between a resident. And so that was a little discouraging. And now I've been a little smarter, I guess, and asked for those recommendations to come back to council to at least get into the public lens. You have a good problem at the end of the day. So, and the words that resonated with me was collaboration.
Absolutely.
And I think that beyond the fact that we are where we're at is now where do we go from here? And I heard you say, but I want to double check, you haven't seen the council agenda or the report from the manager of, the senior project manager for transportation?
I received a letter from the clerk's office suggesting that there was a decision made and that it was coming before council today. I received a document after I made my deputation at the Transportation Committee in desperation, thinking all the parking was going to be taken away, only to find out that it was a recommendation that one side of the parking be removed.
Okay.
So I only received that after I made my deputation, so I didn't have a chance to speak to it, and that's why I'm here today.
Okay, so you have seen the memo?
I haven't read the complete memo, sorry.
Okay, so I guess the traffic committee only recommends, they don't
Correct.
make a final decision.
I understand
so that's
that.
a good part. And then here today, what staff is recommending is just the first reading of the bylaw, which allows for some distribution. In your instance, you're the biggest one that we have to worry about notification on. We do have other parking spots where some residents may be leading the complaint. Other neighbors have no idea what's going on, and we'll do a first reading so that we can blanket the area with notification, and then everybody collectively comes in and
Fair
says,
enough.
I don't have a problem, or I do have a problem. So I guess what I'm going to throw it right on you here and ask you, what can we do in terms of collaboration? We are where we're at. There's a recommendation before council. There's a bylaw with first reading. Now, you did mention to one of my colleagues that your recommendation would be to do nothing. But
That's always an option, right?
it is an option, but in fairness, I think you're at a disadvantage because you haven't read the report yet.
Fair.
So if you take that into consideration and you still come to that same conclusion, I can respect that.
Yes.
But you're at a disadvantage because you don't.
Thank you.
So what would you suggest that we do to help work with you to move this forward? We can proceed to first reading, which doesn't implement anything at this point,
Correct.
but provides for further consultation.
Mhm.
You have an opportunity then to review all the documents in its entirety, be brought up to speed where you should have been at the front end.
Correct.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And then from there, council can make a decision with input from you and other people perhaps in the area.
I appreciate, if I receive the document, I'm happy to review it, and I'm happy to meet with someone like yourself who represents Ward 2, and have a discussion as business person to city representative. Happy to do that.
Okay, and I appreciate that. So I guess what I'm saying is and again, council's going to decide on this, but
Mhm.
if we proceed with just first reading, we can still continue that consultation piece, because that's the crux behind first reading only.
Does it go to third reading today?
No, it will be
No.
first reading only is how it's written, so there will be no second or third reading. It's consultation only, unless, I'm going to look to the clerk, is it all three readings? Just first reading, so therefore there won't be a final decision today.
Okay.
These documents here that I've referred to are available on the website, but we'll make sure you get copies. They're
Thank you.
publicly available. And then from there, I guess you have a better opportunity to look at it without that sense of urgency, like we're going to change your world out front.
And it really does, you know, like access to the property is so important, and you know, you can appreciate the desperation a person would feel having gone through the last probably close to 3 years of bureaucratic hoops just to be able to get the doors open from the start. And it's been a myriad of licensing and all kinds of different things. And I've collaborated with the city just to get to start. And it's something I celebrate, just the fact that I've walked through all the minefield and been able to turn the key on the door and says, oh, it's open, and then it's connected with the community. Let's have a discussion. I'd love to actually bring y'all out to Signal and show you what's happening. It's pretty exciting. I know some councillors and I know even the mayor haven't been there yet, but it would be nice to actually show you what is actually happening there. It's pretty exciting for the community, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, so just focusing back on this issue, and again, I recognize the fact that your business is successful, and like I say at the front end, you have a problem, but it's a good problem. You've got a lot of people, I know that we've exchanged a little bit based on numbers on a different matter, but you've got a good problem here. We just have to make sure we're accommodating. In fairness, we need to have consultation with you. So
sure. I invite you to come and see me.
In terms of going forward then process-wise, we can continue on with first reading. That allows you the opportunity to provide input for future. And then, you know, in terms of council going out and looking at it, just don't invite 5 of us and you'll be okay. And then, but there we can have a better look at. You can look at what the staff say here. You mentioned about speeding. Have you followed up with the Belleville Police Service in terms of speed?
We had a bit of a conversation at that particular meeting, the traffic committee meeting, and Councillor or Officer Stitt, I think, was there, and he had some suggestions for me. Like I suggested, we did take one of them and started to use the pylons in the middle of the road. But I think that there's always lots of other things that we could do. Enforcement, you know, I got a speeding ticket going through Canopton, you know, I have a heavy foot too, so sometimes on a country road, you just kind of forget where you are. It's a beautiful sunny day, but it's getting a little bit more populated there now, and I think there's a community in the future that will be built, so. Yeah,
no doubt there's future growth there for sure, but I'll repeat this again like I do to everyone that I represent, and this is the words right from the Chief of Police, is that residents need to contact Belleville Police Service directly, because from there they can put in an incident number and they start tracking complaints, so that all of a sudden now we've got some focused complaints, then they can allocate the resources in a responsible way to actually, from a deterrence perspective, solve the problem. So you referred earlier to speeding, so I would suggest, outside of some of the other mechanisms that the police have suggested to you, that you call if you see speeding. Again, they can take care of it from there. We can't really do much on the speeding front. Down the road, I know we're going to look at some traffic calming, and what they had suggested is a good idea. So I don't think all is lost here today. I think we have an opportunity to resurrect that consultation piece. It's unfortunate that you are in the position you're at, but I'm assuring you that with the first reading, we still have an opportunity for further discussion. Are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Your Worship, and thanks for the deputation.
Thanks, Jack.
I remember when you came to planning, so that is a number of years ago, and the parking issue was something that you were addressing at the time. Aside from the on-street parking, can you describe what parking facility is available for your patrons?
We have the approved parking spaces across the street from Signal. That was part of our official site plan that we submitted and was approved, so that was put in place. We have about another 250 spaces just up the road by the old stable building, and we now have the space immediately adjacent Signal where the former River Inn was, so we have another 2 paved parking lots in there. So we have a lot of parking, and that's what we have.
I think as Councillor Carr said, you actually have a nice problem in that obviously your business has grown very, very quickly, and perhaps beyond what your business plan was, I don't know, but either way it's a good problem to have. There's a lot of open space. Is there the opportunity to expand your parking across the street to accommodate the extra?
I don't think we actually need it. A lot of days we might be like 30% of the space occupied. Sometimes it's at maximum on a Friday or Saturday night if we have entertainment. But I don't think it's a requirement right now. I think we have more spaces than we actually require. And as it gets busier, maybe down the road, we acquire more land. But at this time, I think we're more than covered sufficiently.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Richard, for coming. On the parking, you've taken over the River Inn at this stage, or you're in the process?
We have done that, yes.
So are you able to use those parking spots then for parking at this stage?
Yes, we are, and we are currently.
Okay. In the restrictions of the parking in front of your business, which is great, and I appreciate it, and for tourism, it's wonderful in our community, Richard, so thank you very much. In front of your building, how many parking spots, and maybe staff can maybe answer this, would we be eliminating if we get to second and third reading on that particular piece of property? And do you feel if there's 10, 15, that there would be no other place to put those cars?
I would estimate, because it's not just in front of Signal that you're proposing
Yes.
to remove spots, it's in front of the old River Inn that's been there for so long.
Yeah.
I would say probably 30 or 40 perhaps, but saying that, we might have 3 or 4 vehicles park on that side of the road, and actually more recently a lot of motorcyclists coming in, so parking in front of our place on that side because they have the trophy bikes and stuff like that.
But with the amount of parking spots you have, do you feel comfortable that if we eliminated, we possibly would have parking spots for them in your designated parking spots?
I think we could, but it's just like anybody going to the Quinney Mall.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to park right in front of the door,
Yeah,
right?
And certainly defense of the parking committee, we're certainly dealing with this across Belleville in a lot of the streets. We're for safety reasons, for parking reasons, other reason for parking. We're doing a lot of streets where we're only allowing parking on one side of the streets now, because people, we're just getting congested, safety cars, ambulances going through, and fire and trucks and everything. So, and winter snow plowing. So we're trying to make the city more easily friendly for people to get through the streets and not congested. So we're doing a lot of streets with only one side of the streets.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How do you propose enforcing it?
This will be through the parking authority. We contracted out, and which we contracted out at this stage. So the parking authority will be the one that will be policing this. Okay.
Thank you. Good discussion. Seeing no more questions, can I get a motion to receive and move this to 8A1? Moved by Councillor Boyce, second by Councillor Miller. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 6.4 on your agenda, Mr. Smith had a conflict. So he won't be here today. Is that correct, Christine? Yeah. So yeah, he won't be here. So 6.4 for deputations is off. So we move right to correspondence. 7.1, email from Empire Theatre. Can I get a motion to receive as written? Moved by Councillor Panchak, second by Councillor Carr. All in favor? That's carried. And 7.2, a letter from Mr. Stuart O'Brien regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, application 7748, 1048-11 to Bay Drive. Get a motion to receive. Moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8, Committee of the Whole. Motion to go to Committee of the Whole to hear and consider report passing recommendations, resolutions. Councillor Panchak in the chair. Moved by Councillor Graham, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. 8A reports. The agenda shall include under reports items that warrant individual attention from council. 8A1, amendment to the traffic bylaw number 12967, Schedule B, parking restrictions on street parking in the vicinity of...
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Can I ask you a question? Just for the essence of timing, under your report agenda 8A7, if it's a consent of the chair to ask council if they'd be open for you to put on the floor. We have the senior executive for in. They have to be in Ajax in 47 minutes.
and I agree with that.
Thank you.
Unanimous consent from council. I'll ask that we move to 8A7 first, right?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. 8A7, Viridian and Whitby Hydro merger, Director of Finance Treasury Report DF 2018-18. And the resolution is that pursuant to Director of Finance Treasury Report number DF 2018-18, council approves in principle the merger of Viridian Corporation with Whitby Hydro, subject to the finalization and approval of council of the merger participation agreement and shareholders agreement. Can I have a mover? Moved by Mayor Christopher, seconded by Councillor Graham. Do we have any questions? Councillor Miller.
Thanks very much, Councillor Panchak. Actually, it's just one question, and it might just be a typo. I'm not sure it's on page 43 of the reports, and it's Director Cousins' expected revenue for Belleville, and just wondering, maybe I'm just not adding these up correctly, but it talks about the merged and the standalone revenues for the city, which are important because the city will see an immediate increase on or after the merger. But I'm just wondering, there's a little box there, revenue type, merged and standalone. You have the dividends at 1.04 million under merged, and the promissory note interest at 1.25, whereas the standalone, it's 300,000. But the numbers on the bottom don't add up. It does on the right column at 1.03 million revenue to the city, but under merged, it says 1.29. I'm just adding up the other two figures. It comes to 2.29. Am I reading that wrong?
Director Cousins.
Your, to the chair, Councillor Miller, and all of council, it should be, promissory note interest should be 0.25 instead of 1.25.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Before I call the question, I will just recognize and say thank you to the executive team from Viridian that are here. This is a large transaction and a good improvement for the city of Belleville. And with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And I thank them for taking their time today and for the mayor to suggest that we move that forward. We'll go back to 8A1, which is the amendment to traffic bylaw number 12967, Schedule B, parking restrictions, on-street parking in vicinity of 87 River Road. The Deputy City Clerk's report number DC 2018-6 and Deputation 6.3 referred. Resolution is that a bylaw to approve and authorize an amendment to bylaw number 12967, being a bylaw to regulate traffic within the corporate limits of the Corporation of the City of Belleville in the vicinity of 87 River Road as outlined in report number DC 2018-6 be prepared for Council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor McCaw. Discussion. Councillor Thompson.
Just want to note that it has already been discussed that it's only first reading
Yes.
tonight in the bylaw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCaw.
Hi, if I could, through you, and are you the chair of the traffic committee? You are.
As of today,
okay,
yes.
Okay, just so that I'm clear, I read some things in the media, plus, you know, I listened intently to Mr. Cornier. So that I understand this correctly, a complaint was received to Mr. Cornier, or how was the complaint received by the traffic committee? Who came to the traffic committee with this complaint?
Just give me one moment. I'm just going to grab my binder. So, Councillor McCaw, I can tell you that on April the 23rd, a memo was prepared for the traffic committee from Director Beauvais, and I'll quote, it says that the issue of on-street parking along River Road in the vicinity of Signal Brewery was recently brought to the attention of Corporate Services Department via the Mayor's office. That's all the information we have at that time. I do note that in the report today, it refers to correspondence, but that correspondence wasn't presented to us or referred to at the traffic committee meeting, which was held last month in May.
So if I could follow up. Is that the normal protocol? I mean, as I remember, I've referred a few things to the traffic committee in the past, whereby I would come directly to the traffic committee, and from there the traffic committee would conduct their own investigations and bring results back to council. So I'm just a little confused based on some of the comments that Mr. Cornier had stated and what I've read in the media. Is that what happened in this case?
Well, I can just tell you that in this case, normally what happens, and the traffic committee receives comments from members of the public, members of council, the mayor's office in the past. Those comments are referred to the committee considers them and then makes a recommendation to either get information, to proceed with action, or to reply that no action is needed. In this case, the comment was not forwarded to the traffic committee. A report was prepared in advance to the meeting, and the report came to the meeting. So it was a little unusual in the sense that report came there, but nonetheless, the committee considered it and made a recommendation. Yeah, continue.
Okay, so I'm understanding that this is a process that's not normally what happens. And has it been that way before, as long as you've been on the traffic committee?
Personally, I can tell you that this is the first time that occurred this way since I've been on the traffic committee.
I guess I just find it a little curious that it came forward in this way. It almost, to me, looks like an end run around the traffic committee. And maybe I'm just reading something into it that's not there. But to me, that's how it appears, that this was not the normal protocol. And it makes me wonder why it was done this way. I don't know if you can offer any suggestions as to why this complaint would be received through the mayor's office to staff prior to reaching the traffic committee, so that the traffic committee collectively can make that decision rather than arbitrarily staff making it based on one person's opinion without supporting documentation. I have not heard of, and you're not suggesting that you've received anything in writing from a complainant. So from that respect, I'm not sure how we know whether there's any merit to it or who this complainant actually is. So I guess the question is, I obviously haven't received this information. Does the traffic committee have any supporting documentation?
The traffic committee, the only information the traffic committee has is what was included in the report, as what I just outlined. So,
just a few more questions here, sorry. I guess I have a couple of problems with it. Number one, did the mayor ever consider, the optics of how this may look, even though, he well defended himself that it was not politically motivated, and I'd like to believe him. The optics just simply don't look good. Secondly, did he also consider the fact that he lives in the area, and does that constitute a conflict of interest?
Just one moment, please. Councillor McCaw, I can't answer that question. If you'd like to ask a question to a staff member or to a member of council, I can direct them to answer it. But I think everyone will agree, it's difficult to put me in the spot of trying to explain or provide information for someone else's actions.
Thank you. I apologize for putting you in that position. If the mayor doesn't wish to answer, that's fine.
Well, I haven't asked him if
okay.
he would, so please don't suggest that he doesn't want to, because we haven't done that. If you have a question, you want to pose it to any of us, we can deal with it. If you don't, then I think just make your comments and we'll move on.
I mean, I certainly would want to give him the opportunity to speak in defense of, some of the statements that were made here by Mr. Cornier, and then I'd like to go further after his statement and make my last few
So
statements.
Can I just understand, so you're asking me to ask if the mayor can provide information about what?
If he would like to speak in defense of some of the allegations that Mr. Cornier has leveled against him with respect to being politically motivated.
As you know, no member of council is obligated to. I'll put the question as a courtesy. Mayor Christopher, would you have any comments you'd like to provide on the origin of the comments or the process with this?
About the resolution, is that what we're talking about now?
The resolution, yes. Well, the resolution, the report, that's included.
So I'm not the author of the report. The author of the report is...
Yeah, would you like to offer any comments, is the question?
On the report? No, I fully support the report.
Okay, thank you.
It's on the floor. Thank you.
Yeah.
So just in closing, I just want to make a few statements. I'm not going to support this motion for the following reasons. I don't like the way it was brought forward. It doesn't appear to have come the normal way through using the normal traffic protocol. I did have the opportunity over the weekend to speak to many residents in the area, plus spent time in that area on Friday night, just going through the area to see if it posed a problem on probably one of its busiest nights. What I can say is I didn't see any problem in going through that area on a busy Friday evening, and any resident I spoke to were more than happy to have Mr. Cornier's Signal Brewery in their neighborhood. Clearly based on the information that, I don't know whether you provided or Mr. Cornier, or I read it in the Quinney News publication, that Constable Stitt really didn't have any safety concerns or complaints. So for that reason, I'm not going to support it. And you know, in a sense, I'd like to apologize to Mr. Cornier, and I'm sorry he left. I really don't like it when people come up to this podium and we end up having what I would consider a negative exchange. People come to this podium, we want them to come to this podium. I think they should be treated more respectfully when they're here. If there's a huge concern and a huge problem, perhaps maybe we can arrange for the Senator's shuttle bus or the casino trolley to make regular visits out to the Signal Brewery. You know, I think it's important to note and to make suggestions that Belleville is open for business, and not just hockey teams and casinos, all business. And all business should be treated fairly, and I'd like to see the same fairness displayed to Mr. Cornier. Thank you. Councillor Panchik, I'm finished.
Thank you, Councillor McCaw. Councillor Boyce, you're next on the list.
Oh my God, this has become so political, it's stupid. And I'm embarrassed, to be quite honest. But here's what I want to say. I chaired the committee for a number of years, and a number of times reports came from, or suggestions, or could you forward this to the committee because I've received concerns through the mayor's office, through individuals on council. There was nothing secretive or immoral or anything wrong about this. This is what we've done in the past, ever since I've sat on traffic. The question was raised at that meeting, you know, oh, we've got a report. How come we got a report? We were told that in other cases we have received. It's not the first time we've ever received a report. The staff thought that they would do up a report, save us some time from asking for a report, you know, especially if there was going to be a safety concern. And to even suggest, you know, we're taking the recommendation not from the mayor's office. We're not, because the mayor has said it, we're not going to say yes or no. We are taking it from a professional engineer that based it on going out there, as Mr. Cornier says, the staff went out there and did measurements. They had concerns about the safety. So it's a professional staff member who you know what, the mayor may be gone in October, but that staff member is still going to be here. He's not going to base his, ruin his credibility on because the mayor's office, wants this or doesn't want it. The mayor, it's almost like we're trying to make some type of scandal out of this. This is something that has happened in the past, and like I say, I'm basing my decision on the safety, and I'm basing it on our staff, who I think based it on their professional opinion and not on any pressure that may or may not have come from any individual on council. Let's get on with it.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Boyce. Councillor Deniers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I wanted to ask, perhaps you as the chair of the committee, it's my understanding from the deputation, Mr. Cornier, indicated that when he appeared before your committee, he did request that there be parking on one side?
Yes, that's correct. So the recommendation that came to the traffic committee was the prohibition of parking on both sides of the street.
Okay. And
in his deputation, or the opportunity he had to speak before, he recommended that if a prohibition was to be placed, just have it on one side of the street.
Okay.
And that's ultimately the recommendation from the committee.
I was just going to say, and that's the recommendation that we have before us this evening, with the recommendation as well. And I think the deputation also admitted at the podium that the road at that point was narrow, and that's exactly what our staff engineer is saying, that the 4.5 asphalt width of the southbound lane in front of the brewery is insufficient to accommodate a through lane on-street parking. So for those reasons, I'm going to support this recommendation, and knowing full well that it's for first reading, and that, let the public come forward if they have any concerns.
Thank you, Councillor Deniers. Anyone else? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for you to staff. I'm just reviewing the memorandum from the senior project manager. What is the acceptable width for on-street parking, I guess, is the question I have.
I'm going to direct that to Director Bove, if that's the appropriate person.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, typically travel lanes are a minimum of 3.5 meters, and a parking aisle would be 3 meters. And our roads are typically designed that way.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Miller.
Thanks very much. I'm just going by the report that's been cited. There was never a problem there before because there was never anything there before to speak of. I'm sure a lot of us travel the River Road from time to time, and I got to admit, it's narrow in a lot of places, and there's not a lot of shoulder width. And even by Mr. Cornier's, he said the road is narrow. It's quaint, it's country, it's all the things that you want to see in a setting like that. But I doubt that it was ever intended that it was going to see parking on both sides of the road. I mean, I think it's wonderful that his business is flourishing as fast as it is, and there's no question that it is becoming a destination, and good on him and good on what he's put forward there, and it's good for the city. But to me, the idea of using traffic or parked cars on both sides of the street to act as a calming influence on speeding, I'm not sure that that's the way we want to address that particular issue. So now we have a situation where there are people there, and it's wonderful. And businesses are expected to provide their own parking. We don't have other businesses coming to us. If there's an overflow at the Quinney Mall, they're not going to come to us and ask for parking on Bell Boulevard or anything along that line. We can accommodate the request to a degree, but we still have to be first and foremost, and we've heard it around this table more and more and more as we've been trying to get vehicles off the roads and people on bikes and pedestrians and everything else, but it's about safety. And we keep saying it, and thankfully there's been no issues there, and if there's no issues, people aren't about to complain. Obviously, now we have a good problem in that respect, and I agree, there's a way to work with Mr. Cornier to get it fixed. The one thing in Ms. Stewart's report, and it says background, and there's all this discussion about the mayor initiating this. I probably sent 24 items over the years to traffic, and I'm the go-between, and people send me emails or give me phone calls, and I pass it on. It's included on your agenda, and then I hear afterward whether or not, or what the verdict of the traffic committee was. But in this case, in the background, it says, correspondence was received in the mayor's office and forwarded to the Corporate Services Department for action. So from that perspective, I don't see where that is any different from anything I've ever dealt with the traffic committee, where I've received correspondence or phone calls or whatever, and I forward it on to the traffic committee. So I'm not so sure what's different here than anything that I've been involved with in the past.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Thompson, a second run?
On this particular, a little upset that we are getting, council's getting to the point where we're making accusations against each other, and that's not what we're elected for. We're elected to conduct ourselves in a very proper manner, and it disturbs me we getting accusations made, whether to a council member or to people that are coming to the podium. That's really not the type of carryings on that the public really expects from us as a councillor and the mayor. So,
do you have any comments on the resolution?
Yes, I do. But back to the parking, we have had items come, as Councillor Miller said, come to the committee, and we've dealt with them without maybe a name being referenced to that particular traffic situation. And for the traffic committee, we've gone and talked about items in our traffic committee without members of the public being in there for that particular area. Like we just, whether we're talking about speeds on roads, parking on particular streets, we make those decisions, go to first reading, then the people in those areas are notified. This was on, whether it's good or bad, Mr. Cornier was there, and that's fine. But we don't always have that opportunity to notify the people, so we make lots of decisions before the people involved in that area get to make their decisions to council. So we're going to go to first reading, then that people in that vicinity will get to make their comments to the council, and we can either go to second reading or third reading. But and Mr. Cornier, when he was at our meeting, he verbally said, it wouldn't be all bad if we had parking on one side only. So he's coming, he's trying to to get us to go back to two sides, and that's, I don't blame him for that, if it's good for his committee, or for his business. But I'm a little concerned with the accusations we're making at council, and that disturbs me.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Graham?
Thank you.
Your button, please.
Sorry.
No problem.
In regards to this resolution, you're going to slap me here in a minute.
I can't quite reach you.
In regards to resolution, let's vote on this the way we're supposed to vote, and what's right in public. I'm a little concerned that people are going to use this, or as we move forward, let's not use these issues for political points and, get your name out in front and stuff. Let's calm down, let's vote on what we're supposed to vote on. You're not going to slap me?
Not yet.
Anyways, as we move forward, I know it's election season, but we can't get into the he said, she said stuff.
All right. Anyone else? I will ask, so the motion on the floor is to approve this bylaw, and it will be referred to first reading only. All in favor?
Can I record a vote, please?
Councillor McCaw has asked for a recorded vote. I'll let the clerk get prepared. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Councillor Graham?
Yes.
Councillor McCaw?
No.
Councillor Miller?
Yes.
Councillor Panchuk?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Boyce?
Yes.
Councillor Carr?
Yes.
And Mayor Christopher.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. 8A2, another recommendation from the Traffic Committee. Amendment to Traffic Bylaw number 12967, Schedule Q, stop signs at intersections, removal of stop sign at Avondale Road and Harder Drive, Deputy City Clerk's Report number DC 2018-7. The resolution is that a bylaw to approve and authorize an amendment to Bylaw number 12967, being a bylaw to regulate traffic within the corporate limits of the City of Belleville at the intersection of Avondale Road and Harder Drive, as outlined in Report number DC 2018-7, be prepared for Council's consideration. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Graham. Any discussion on this? Councillor Miller?
Thanks very much, Councillor Panchuk. I don't really agree with the recommendation. I find it interesting that currently it's a two-way stop, or two of the three on the intersection are stops. We've been asked for three, and now we're going to one. There's a lot more development there, obviously, but I know Harder Drive has always been a fairly well-used street because it cuts across to Avondale and down. Personally, I'm in favor of what the request was, to go with the three-way stop at that point. It's interesting that we have that, and I kind of liken it to the corner of Pine and Charles Street. And basically, Charles Street going north past Pine is just a little nub with a couple of parking spots, but council years ago, based on a recommendation, applied the stop sign on the north side of the street, and it became three-way. I think there's more of a need for it here than would even be there because of the significant residential development that's been created. I'm not going to support the motion. I agree that it should be 3 lanes, and is that first reading only, or is that all 3?
No, it'll be all 3 today.
That's all 3. Okay, that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Daniels.
So perhaps Councillor Miller has suggested some of the things I was going to ask. I noticed in the background information that this request has come from a resident requesting a three-way stop, and I was going to propose that perhaps this should be a first reading, and because if only one resident is concerned about this, maybe the other residents in the area have no idea that this is going to happen, and perhaps a first reading on this one might be in order as well.
Okay. Let's see how the rest of the debate goes, and we can come back to it.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else on this? No? Well, then I guess the rest of the debate has gone that way. So if that's your suggestion, I think we can pull it at first reading if you'd like, or we can make an amendment now.
I'll make a friendly amendment. Sorry, I thought I was
okay.
on. I'll make a friendly amendment that this be for first reading.
First reading only?
If
Okay.
I have a seconder.
Yep. Moved by Councillor Denier, seconded by Councillor Miller for the addition be prepared for Council's consideration and given first reading only. Any discussion on the amendment? No? So let's vote on the amendment first, correct? Right procedure. All in favor of the amendment? It's carried. So the amended motion is now before us. All in favor of the amended motion? It's carried. 8A3, amendment to the traffic bylaw number 12967, Schedule B, parking restrictions on Little Lane. And this is Deputy City Clerk's report number DC 2018-08. The resolution is that a bylaw to approve and authorize an amendment to bylaw number 12967, being a bylaw to regulate traffic within the corporate limits of the Corporation of the City of Belleville, Schedule B, parking restrictions on Little Lane, as outlined in report number DC 2018-08, be prepared for Council's consideration. Can I have a mover? Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? None. I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. All right. Councillor Carr, I believe you declared a conflict on this one. 8A4, the Sydney Street water main extension. Director, Engineering and Development Services report number DEDS 2018-04. And the resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Engineering and Development Services report number DEDS 2018-04, a bylaw be prepared to authorize the execution of an agreement between the Corporation of the City of Belleville and Settlers Ridge Developments, Inc. for the construction of a water main extension on Sydney Street from Maitland Drive northerly and easterly to Hampton Ridge Drive, and that the 2018 capital budget be amended by adding an amount of $1,600,000 from water rates to the 2018 capital budget, project number 1-005. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Denier, seconded by Councillor McCaw. Discussion. Councillor Miller.
Thanks. Just a comment, Mr. Chair, and just this is a perfect example of the city and developers coming together to basically find a win-win-win situation in terms of advancing development north of Settlers Ridge, as well as also addressing some significant infrastructure requirements by the City of Belleville, not only with a water main ensuring lots of water, but also giving us that redundant system. So it's growth all the way around. The developers step up in advance, and the municipality also gains in other ways. So my congratulations to Mr. Beauvais and to the developers coming together with this plan.
Okay. Anybody else on this? Mayor Christopher.
Thank you. I think this is a great example of how this council does things a little different. In the report, Director Beauvais mentioned that a project like this would take 24, 30-plus months, just because of the world we live in with EA studies. And a big-time congratulations to Councillor Denier, the Chair's planning. The initiative started 5-6 months ago. I think there was some discussion with Director Beauvais about the expansion of water up in the Settlers Ridge area, and we were fully aware as a municipality that we were going to be committed to get there. Because we've executed everything that we've put on paper, and our staff have been hitting grand slams in every one of their projects. But this one is unique, as Councillor Miller said. it gives an opportunity for us to partner with the developers. They can move a little quicker, a little faster than municipalities and governments can. Our ship is a little bigger, and it goes to show you that we'll have more work going down the road. It gives us an opportunity to get the shovels in the ground quicker and faster, and a big-time congratulations to Councillor Denier's planning and also Director Beauvais, similar as Councillor Miller mentioned. This is a good story. I mean, it doesn't touch a lot of things. This is infrastructure, and this is very important for a municipality our size to kind of think outside the box and partner with the private sector. And we have our checks and balances in play, and this is a good news story for the growth of our municipality. So congratulations to both. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. We'll just get Councillor Carr back. Thank you. Eight A5, Business Retention and Expansion Committee, Terms of Reference Revision, and the Manager of Economic and Strategic Initiatives Report Number ECDEV 2018-14. The resolution is that pursuant to the Manager of Economic and Strategic Initiatives Report Number ECDEV 2018-14, Council approve an amendment to the Terms of Reference for the Business Retention and Expansion Committee to include the Quinney Home Builders Association as a voting member. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor McCaw. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried. 8A6, Municipal Accommodation Tax. Manager of Economic and Strategic Initiatives Report Number ECDEV 2018-16. Resolution is that pursuant to the Manager of Economic and Strategic Initiatives Report Number ECDEV 2018-16, Council support proceeding with the consultation process for implementing a municipal accommodation tax for the City of Belleville. Can I get a mover and a seconder on this? Moved by Councillor Boyce, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion on this? Councillor Thompson.
The tax that's going to be collected, who will that money go to before it gets distributed? Who will be the initial receiver of that particular money?
I will ask Manager Post to come forward, and she is the best person to answer that question.
Thank you, Chair. Through to Councillor Thompson. So what's being proposed for the public consultation period is that the Quinney Accommodations and Attraction Partnership would collect those funds and then remit a share of them to the Bay of Quinney Tourist Regional Marketing Board, for example, and the remainder to the city.
And if I follow up to that, in other municipalities that have this particular tax already, does that same system work in all the other cities that you know of, or do the municipality collect it and then distribute it? What is the normality in other municipalities?
Our research has shown that where there is an organization like the QAAA, they typically continue to collect those funds after a municipal accommodation tax is implemented.
And so at the end, and I'm not arguing this right or wrong, will they be supplying then an audited statement to the municipalities at the end of the year so that we have record where the money goes and doesn't go?
That is our recommendation. After the public consultation process, we will bring forward to Council a number of recommendations around how to proceed with this municipal accommodation tax. One of those recommendations will involve details regarding accountability. So how do we make sure that every partner is contributing what they should? How can we be sure that all of that funding is accounted for, as we would with any agreement regarding funding?
And that'll also include how much each organization gets out of that particular amount. That'll happen later on then.
Correct.
Thank you.
Right. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Councillor Panchuk. So through you, so are there administration costs that are involved with this that would be applied by the accommodation committee or whoever's collecting the tax?
Through the chair to Councillor Miller. Yes, we're assuming there will be a fee to collect some of these fees from the accommodators. The agreement, if Council agrees, the agreement that we will have with the QAAA group will detail what fees will be paid.
So I guess I'm anxious to see what that's all going to look like, because certainly I've been involved where there are administration charges that sometimes, may not sit well in certain circumstances, might be okay in others, but all of that comes to us before any kind of a final approval, right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Christopher?
Thank you. Karen. So on your report on page 25, is it safe to say at the present time, we have the Bay of Quinney Marketing Board, which there's a little bit more structure. There's elected officials, there's appointees, there's an executive director, and we also have the Quinney Accommodations Quinney Accommodations and Attractions Associations. At the present time, our destination marketing organization is the Bay of Quinney Regional Marketing Board.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So during the public consultation, there's going to be an opportunity for that organization also to step up and say, we have, the infrastructure, we have the administrative tools, we have everything that we need to do to take the project on.
Yes, that is possible, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the public consultation process really allows everything to be discussed. Staff will take that information and bring it back to council for review and decision.
Right on. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm good.
Anyone else? So, Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate this is just a consultation phase, so we're not implementing a tax or anything like that. Ms. Post, what caught my attention was on the last page of your report, actually last paragraph, you refer to the fact that this levy, so this increase, will finally provide the city with funds necessary to market appropriately to attract new tourism investment. And I think what you're looking at is from an infrastructure point of view, actually getting some tourism infrastructure to add to the complement. So is the intent then, because the way I read earlier in the report, it talks about how it's would be dispersed to the marketing board. So your suggestion is the city would actually take a portion from an economic development point of view to go out and attract tourist industry proprietors to come to the city. Is that correct?
That's correct. Through the chair, to Councillor Carr. So the legislation requires that we pay our DMO, which would be the Bay of Quinney Regional Marketing Board, at least what they're getting now. But there are significant funds, we're anticipating significant funds in addition to that, that the municipality can use for all kinds of things, but mainly tourism promotion and tourism product development. So a lot of these decisions we're hoping will be made in time for the 2019 budget discussions, where staff will come forward with some recommendations on what to do with those additional funds, if council agrees to implement a MAT.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to comment one more time. I want to follow up on Councillor Carr's comment. So what I'm thinking of, once we get through the public consultation, in the bigger picture, it would be a firm like the Bay of Quinney Regional Marketing Board. I don't know what our community partners in the east or west are doing. Every municipality has the opportunity to go forward with an accommodation, let's call it levy, it's a softer word. So it'd be interesting when we go through the consultation, hopefully our community partners east and west and south of us look at the bigger picture also, as in maybe the agency of the Bay of Quinney Regional Marketing Board has the capacity and infrastructure to take it on, and then we look at the bigger picture, as in we're a Bay of Quinney region. At the end of the day, tourism equals Bay of Quinney. Obviously, we have our own municipalities and our own directions in tourism portfolios, but in the bigger picture, they are the resume of Eastern Ontario. So I hope that this resonates and gets out and says there's a bigger picture here of accommodating everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Post, thank you for coming. I think for the benefit of those who are the members of the public that are watching, so currently our contribution to the Bay of Quinney Marketing is a per capita levy, correct?
That's correct.
Right. And so the proposal is that this new levy, which the province has allowed municipalities to impose on accommodation sector, we're expecting that at least what we were paying previously on the per capita would continue to go to that agency, and then the additional funds are what we call discretionary for the municipality, correct?
Not exactly. So right now, the Bay Quinney Regional Marketing Board receives funds, a little over $100,000 from the Quinney Accommodations and Attraction Partnership, and they receive an additional $65,000 from the City of Belleville.
Right.
So they receive two separate amounts. The implementation of a municipal accommodations tax will require that just over $100,000 amount they're getting from the QAAA will continue in that amount.
Right.
So the legislation doesn't speak to what would happen with the city's contribution to the Bay Quinney Regional Marketing Board.
And then you'll work that out with the consultation process. That $100,000 that's being generated now from properties, again, can you just tell us how many properties are doing that?
Certainly. I believe we've got, it's noted in the report, I believe we've got 4 hotels.
Yeah.
That are currently paying that tax, but there are a number that are not. Right now, QAAA contribution is voluntary. Once a municipal accommodation tax is in place, it is mandatory.
Good. And then the last question is, the funds that come to the city, I'm assuming that we'll want to put those into a reserve account until we decide what we want to do with them later on. They won't just go into general revenue, right?
That will be a decision of council. Of course, we will be bringing forward, if this is implemented, staff will be bringing forward some recommendations in terms of how to handle that.
Great, thank you very much. I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Post. We'll skip over 8A7 as we've already dealt with it. So 8A8, purchase of one new 1-ton 4x4 crew cab pickup with plow. Capital and Fleet Asset Management Report number CFAM 2018-11. The resolution is that the request for proposal submission from East Court Ford Lincoln be accepted for the supply and delivery of a new 1-ton 4x4 crew cab pickup with plow in the amount of $52,694.40 plus $6,850.28 HST for a total of $59,544.67, this being the most qualified proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the City of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Can I have a mover? A move by Councillor Danier, seconded by Councillor Boyce. Any discussion on this? All in favor? It's carried. 8B, consent items. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. So I'll ask all members of council, starting with Councillor McCaw. Any items?
Thank you. 8B6, please.
8B6. Okay. Councillor Boyce?
8B6 as well.
Okay. Councillor Deniers?
No, thank you.
Councillor Miller?
No, thank you.
Councillor Graham?
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr?
8B7 and 8B9.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
8B5.
Thank you. Mayor Christopher? Okay. So, that the following agenda items be approved with the exceptions of items 8B5, 8B6, 8B7, and 8B9. Correct? Can I get a motion for that? Moved by Councillor Denier, seconded by Councillor Boyce. All in favor? It's carried. We'll move to 8B5. You okay? Okay. We'll move to 8B5. Municipal Access Agreement with TELUS Communications Incorporated. Deputy Director Manager of Engineering's report number ENG 2018-17. The resolution is that a bylaw to approve and authorize an agreement with TELUS Communication Incorporated for municipal access be prepared for council's consideration. Councillor Thompson, you raised that, so you'll move the motion?
Yes, I will.
Seconded by Councillor Miller. Go ahead, Councillor Thompson.
Just a quick question to Mr. Ford or Mr. Bove, if Mr. Ford isn't here. It's good news that TELUS is coming, but the disruption and how would they be burying if it is a cable that's being put in the ground? Are they burying it under the pavement? Are they doing it under sidewalks? What's the plan for that?
Thank you all. Director Bove?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, this agreement is similar agreement to what we have with other telecommunications company, whether it's Rogers or Bell or Cogeco. They have not applied for permission to do any specific work. This sets out the structure that allows them to then come forward and follow our typical municipal consent process where they identify a location where they want to put in infrastructure. And then they submit drawings that show us whether it's going under a road or on a boulevard under a sidewalk. We review that and go back and forth with them to identify if that work is something the city is going to allow or if they need to relocate it. So at some point in the future, they will come forward with their specific requests.
Thank you, Mr. Bovee.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Is carried. 8B6, City of Belleville Grant Committee, Director of Finance Treasurer's Report, DF 2018-17. The resolution is that Council approve the recommendations of the Grant Committee for those applications outlined in the Director of Finance Treasurer's Report number DF 2018-17, City of Belleville Grant Committee. Councillor McCaw, you raised, are you going to move it?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Boyce.
Yeah, seconded by, I'd like to make an amendment if I could.
Okay, we'll do that under debate because I recognize Councillor. So you're seconding this, the general first motion? Okay. Yeah, so the first motion is on there in terms of that, as I just read out. Councillor McCaw, you raised.
Yes, thank you, through you. The chair of the grant committee is?
Yeah, yours truly.
Okay, so here I go again. I noted that there were two groups that were not funded. So I guess the question was I wanted to know why they weren't funded, or is it just a case of the funding being completely depleted and there were not funds available to fund the Pentecostals of Quinney request?
Okay, I just went and grabbed my my binder, so from the grant committee. So just fairly quickly, I can tell you there were 14 applications for the Social Infrastructure Funding Program, which is funded by our funds from the casino. And originally, the amount that was first submitted was for $121,850 in funding requests. The committee turned down the two, as you mentioned. The total budget for this year was $139,000. So even if council had, or even if the committee had recommended all the items to be funded, it would have meant there was leftover funds this year. But with the two applications that were turned down, one, yeah, the Pentecostals of Quinney was for the $10,000, and just in case anyone asks, the other one was also for $10,000. So, yeah. There was one out of the regular grant committee agenda, the first one, which was the first one on there, and then there were two that were from the Social Infrastructure Fund. Councillor McCaw?
So with that in mind, obviously it appears as though there is money left over, and I'm wondering what good it would be having it in reserves for another year, and why we couldn't use it to go ahead and fund, well, at least Pentecostals of Quinney, if not both. I was thinking of making an amendment to the motion, but perhaps I'll wait to hear what Councillor Boyce has to say and what he'd like to do.
Okay. Councillor Boyce.
Thank you. I don't want to talk necessarily on the Pentecostal. I want to talk a little bit about COSP, which is Community Organized Support and Prevention. And I noticed that the group approved the situation table, which is a community safety and well-being, and they approved it for hiring a coordinator to assist with grant writing. This particular one, when I talk about community organized support prevention, it's a group that I know firsthand, being in the business for 30 years, does great things in the community. It's a group that takes at-youth risk, and in my business, the risks are in detention and custody. But this group takes youth before that opportunity to get in custody and detention, and we know it can cost $100,000 plus per individual that's being detained for a year. And this group works with those at-risk youth and works with them really hard. I've witnessed it personally myself. I don't work there, I want to preface, but I've witnessed the good job that they do. And so when I saw that they've asked for $10,000 just to to work with these youth to try to prevent them from getting into custody and detention, to try to alleviate, like, I mean, we know the police, you know, the work that they do, but many times these youth, in so many things, whether it's from housing or anything, they tend to fall between the cracks, and this group takes those youth, puts them into programs and delivers counseling services and so many things that, you know, a $10,000 investment into this particular group, I think, will pay dividends in keeping youth, making youth more productive members of our society, and keeping them from being detained in custody and detention. So I hope that this council, like I said, I've been in the business for 30 years, and I see how the communities evolve, how justice has evolved from just simply detaining to providing services like this to keep them out of custody. And the work that this group does, I 100% support them, and they're, you know, I hope that this council reconsiders and provides that $10,000 funding so that they can continue to do the service that they do.
Yeah. So just I'll remind both you and Councillor McCaw that if you wanted to have it considered, we would need an amendment to add both of them or individually. So Councillor McCaw?
I mean, I would certainly like to put forth a motion that both be included.
So you're amending it to add the
Pentecostal
applications for Pentecostals of Quinney.
For the playground equipment for $10,000, and along with Councillor Boyce's request for the youth diversion program for $10,000.
So the amendment is to add those items. Do I have a seconder on it?
Yep.
Seconded by Councillor
I'll second
Boyce.
it based on.
So now we'll have the first vote will be on the amendment, and then we go to the general resolution. So you know, you can speak to the amendment specifically or to the greater decision. So next in the queue, I've got Councillor Thompson.
If we add those two back in, which I agree wholeheartedly, what does that leave us in dollars of the 131,000 was the original amount, was it?
The 139,000 is what was available this year. With these two, the total comes to 121,850. So there will still be surplus funds that will be not spent.
But so where I'm getting at that, if I may ask, there was one opportunity to apply, and that ended at the end of May. I understand that. Yeah. Do we have another opportunity to put it out, seeing we're trying to use this year's funding, or last year's funding, really, I guess, when you look at it, of another $18,000, $19,000. Do we have the opportunity to put that back out to the public in case somebody didn't see that and would like the opportunity to apply? So.
Yeah, Councillor Thompson, can I suggest that we deal with, I think it's a very good idea. If we can deal with this amendment and this resolution first, and then if you'd like to add bring in a motion to direct the committee to reopen the second round for the remaining of the funds, we can, or else those funds will go in reserve. So, but if we can deal with this first, I would suggest that, and then I'll recognize you immediately after. Next on the list is Councillor Miller.
Thanks very much, Councillor Panchuk. Preferably, I'd like to see these split, but I'd like to know, and you are the chair, and I know that your committee has reams of information on everything. We get a couple of bullet points. And for instance, on the Pentecostals of Quinney playground equipment, $10,000 to allow children to be able to play together, to create a community, to assist people, children, families, help people with addictions and Syrian refugees. I'm not sure the connection, so maybe you can explain that, and perhaps you can explain why the committee did deny both of these. Was it a criteria issue?
Yeah. It was not a criteria issue because the criteria, as council approved in terms of the terms of reference for the committee, it's fairly broad. I think in fairness, the concern was that $10,000 towards playground equipment, because it's so expensive, wouldn't go very far, and there were concerns about whether or not it would be Canadian Safety Association approved. If I'm looking at my colleagues to see if they're agreeing with that as the general reasons.
That was one of the aspects.
One of the aspects. I'll ask Councillor Daniels if you want to speak further to it before, just an answer of Councillor Miller's question.
Well, you're chair, so you can go ahead.
Okay. That was the general reason for the item turned down. It was not a unanimous decision, but as what happens, the committee, we get the package before. Councillor Carr and Councillor Daniels and I, we work hard to make ourselves familiar with the information. We have a fulsome discussion with staff. It's not just us. We get good feedback from staff. On this one, the majority feeling was not to carry it through, but does that help you?
Well, it does. I was just looking for the reason why it was denied, just so we get the other side of it. And on the community organized support and prevention, what was the concern?
That one was, I guess, again, the committee does not, we recognize that this year being the first year, there was not precedent setting it. There are a number of things. The concern we had about this organization, and Ms. Seeley is here in the audience, if we have any specific questions we can ask her. The concern was that it seemed to be more of a regional initiative rather than one that affected Belleville. Again, I welcome other members of the committee to speak if they want to just clarify it better for your question. But in that organization also sought assistance from the Belleville Police Service, and they were turned down because of the fact that the budget had already passed this year. So, again, I'll invite Councillor Daniels or Councillor Carr if they want to add something right at this moment on this item.
Sure.
Sure. Councillor Daniels.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So we have a report in front of us indicating that this matter did go to the Belleville Police Service, and they entered into a partnership with Quinney West OPP for the Proceeds of Crime grant application, and also the grant results for cost was successful in our application, receiving 50% of the funding for the next 2 years. And unfortunately, Quinney West OPP was not successful with their application to Proceeds of Crime, leaving a 50% deficit. So the strategy was they would go to Belleville Police and ask for, I don't want to call it a subsidy, but the 50% plus a consideration for the second year. Since the budget is already set for the Belleville Police Services Board and a past request for funding was unsuccessful, they are seeking support from the City of Belleville through the Social Infrastructure Fund. So the conversation went that this is also like a Quinney West initiative and a Belleville Police initiative, and both agencies turned it down for one reason or another, and we didn't see that we should be supporting Quinney West initiative with City of Belleville taxpayer funds.
Councillor Miller?
Thank you.
Okay, good. Anyone else on this? Sorry, Councillor Graham is next on the list.
Thank you,
Your
Chair.
button,
I don't
please.
know whether this
Your button, please.
I don't know whether this should go to you or Councillor Boyce. Was the case plan in regards to cost, was there a case put forward? I'd be interested to see what they're going to spend $10,000 on to keep youth at risk out of jail. I don't know, yourself, sir, or was something put forward where the money would be spent?
There was the application that was submitted. I know Ms. Seeley is here in the audience, and I think it might be helpful if we can have her come forward to speak to it very briefly, because this is a little bit unusual. So with the consent of council, I'll ask her to come forward to the podium and to press the gray button so the red light comes on. And so you heard Councillor...
Was there the request of council? I didn't put my hand up.
I asked if council consents.
I didn't put my hand up.
Okay.
I didn't see a vote.
It looks to me like we have sufficient support for it.
Yeah.
So, okay, Ms. Seeley, welcome. You heard Councillor Miller's brief question, also now Councillor Graham's questions. I wonder if you can just give us a very summarized information about your request.
Okay, I want to clarify a few things. First of all, my first presentation to the Police Service Board was it was a year ago, and it was designed simply to introduce them to ourselves to see if the Police Services Board would offer us any funding, because we do extrajudicial measures, which is a pre-charge service for Belleville Police Services. Had nothing to do with intersections at the time. So what we're talking about today is intersections. It's a new initiative, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have and how it affects the City of Belleville. Although it is a broad initiative, you know, I am from the city of Belleville, much like Susan Sweet said, and I come from a family that I had benefits. So we're talking about those families and children that are struggling. So Intersections is designed to be a prevention initiative to prevent youth from becoming justice involved. And working in an agency where we are always after the fact with pre-charge offenses, post-charge offenses, youth on probation, or maybe they're coming out of custody, like Councillor Boyce had indicated, they might be on another part of their probation order. So we're looking at stepping, and we're talking about 8-year-olds to 17-year-olds, and this is an initiative that our agency has not worked with 8-year-olds. The city of Belleville, the Belleville Police Services reported 65 calls, and they were only taking a look at 6 months from January to July of 2017 of the 12 to 17-year-olds. They had 75 calls. Of those 45, they laid charges. They had 14 calls to one location alone. So Intersections is designed, it has many benefactors. With Belleville Police Services specifically, it is the sole referral source. So when frontline officers are met and they are called into a home and there's really no crimes, it's behavior issues, substance abuse, mental health, developmental challenge, things like that, they're not going to charge them, but they get called back again and again. And this becomes a tool for Belleville Police Services to be able to refer to an Intersections coordinator to help them provide a trajectory service pathway for the children, youth, and families. But when you look at the children, youth, and families in our cities, you know, Belleville, without having the social infrastructure funding, will not be included in Intersections, and it'll be the only city area. So.
Excellent, thank you. Just hold tight. Councillor Graham, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Anyone else before? I'll see if anyone else has a question for Ms. Seeley while we're here. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Seeley, for coming. The application that was presented to the grant committee didn't have everything that you explained out in terms of the deliverables. When we read it, as Councillor Denier's referred to, it talked about some grants that you were seeking, but we didn't get the impression, or at least I can't say for the committee, but I didn't get the impression that there was deliverables for the city of Belleville specifically. And so I guess I'll just ask you, since you're here, if we were to allocate the $10,000 to this Intersections program, which I understand fully, I get it. I'm in the adult correctional system. By that time, they're long gone out of the young offender system. If we allocate the $10,000, will that be within the City of Belleville jurisdiction, and can you deliver results for the City of Belleville with that $10,000?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, anyone else? And you know, again, just remind everybody that at the end of this year, there was a report that is expected back to the city explaining how funds were utilized to demonstrate that impact in Belleville. So anyone else on the amendment? Councillor Carr, do you have some? We can call her back, Councillor Miller, if you want, but Councillor Carr?
Thank you. First of all, from a procedural point of view, and I heard it across the way, and I agree, I think we need to split those. The committee, at the end of the day, reviews these individual applications, and even though at the council table we've bundled them together, I'd like to see them split, so I'll throw that out there. But in the meantime, based on what I've heard today, this is a little bit more information and a little bit more narrowed focus in terms of the City of Belleville and the deliverables. And I'm big into the results side of things if we're going to allocate money, whether it be this or anything else. So I've got assurances, so that's comforting. In terms of the Pentecostals of Quinney, and I did read their application, and of course at the committee level, and it captures exactly what they've requested here. To allow children to be able to play together to create a community. We have how many parks in the City of Belleville that do just that? They provide children an opportunity to play together and come together as a community. The other side of it is, and I know we're looking to disperse funds here now, but if this particular church comes forward with an application, then when you do the multiplier of all the churches in the City of Belleville who would be looking for similar initiatives, suddenly we don't have enough money within that reserve account. So that's my concern there. I appreciate the fact that, they comment that they're able to assist with addictions or Syrian refugees. And had they come in with a program that was going to do that, something the City of Belleville doesn't do. We're not in the business of all these other applications here that are providing meals, providing shelter to a certain degree in terms of the crisis shelters, in addition, separate from social housing and things of that nature. There's a lot of things that are done here that we as local government don't do. And that was the expectation of these funds, that they would fill that gap. And quite frankly, I don't see how providing a church that runs a daycare with $10,000 towards play equipment without getting into the business of everybody else, every other church asking for it. And we have the playgrounds, and we're investing more money now than we ever have, and whether it be in Ward 1 or Ward 2. And I know, Councillor Panchuk, you advocated quite hard for a playground in one area. And so that's the intent, is to build that community. So I can't support that one. I just think that what it's intended to do here is not something that the intended social infrastructure funds were allocated towards.
Right. Thank you.
So from a procedure point of view, though, can we...
well, the motion on the floor right now is for them both. So, again, I appreciate your comments under debate, but if Councillor, when we get to, if they want to split it, we can. Councillor Miller is next in the queue.
Well, I just want to ask again on procedure. In the event that the amended motion is defeated, can one or the other be brought back to be added without it being considered a reconsideration?
Our position is that it would be a reconsideration if the motion fails. So right now we have a motion, or we have an amendment with adding the two items to it. If the mover and seconder agree to split it, that's one thing. If they don't agree to split it, then it will live or die based on how the vote goes for both of them.
I encourage them to consider to split it, please.
Thank you. Anyone else on debate of the amendment? Councillor Boyce.
Yes, I'd definitely be willing to split it, if the motion person would split it as well.
Yeah. So Councillor McCaw agrees to split it. So so what we'll do is we'll do them one at a time, and we'll deal with it. Councillor Deniers, does that help you, or do you want to still speak on the amendments?
No, I'll just briefly finish up here with the Pentecostals of the Bay of Quinney. Just wanted to say my 2 cents there, that I wholeheartedly agree that that was the conversation, as Councillor Carr had put it, that that's the way the debate went, and I too voted against this application at that stage just because of all of those issues that were put on the table, as Councillor Carr has stated.
Okay, anyone else want to speak to the resolution? And what I'll do is, for the purpose of what we're speaking to right now, the first item that we'll be voting on is the Pentecostals of Quinte. So that'll be the first amendment that we deal with, followed by the Community Development Council of Quinte. On a point of order or a procedure?
For clarification purposes. Yeah. The final line had said, help people with addictions and Syrian refugees. I'm just wondering, does the church offer, are they asking to have this playground set so when, say, parents, people who are suffering from addictions, maybe they bring their kids in and the kids are playing with these on the playgrounds while they're being counseled? Or what was the line? Does anybody recall, like, help people with addictions?
Yeah. So I can tell you that the application that was received by the City of Belleville on May the 7th, the mandate of the organization is that we desire to assist people and kids and families in the Quinte area, period. We go out into areas in need and bring children to our children's church. We have, period. We have passes for those with addictions and Syrian refugees coming to our country, period. The intended results or outcomes of the application: children to be able to play on playground equipment. It will create community in the Quinte area, period. In effect, creating social inclusion and physical activity. They requested the $10,000. That's as much as I can
So
help
it
you with.
sounds, when perhaps their parents are in, getting counseling for perhaps addictions, then there's a safe place for the kids to play. That, just from what you have read. So, okay.
All right. Councillor Miller, you had your hand up again, no? Councillor McCaw.
I just want to request a recorded vote.
Okay. So the amendment is made by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Boyce. It's regarding adding the Pentecostals of Quinney to the original motion, and Councillor McCaw has asked for a recorded vote.
So the recorded vote for the amendment to add item G, outlined in the Treasurer's Report number 201872, be approved. So that's the amendment that is being voted on. And I'll start with Councillor Graham.
No.
Councillor McCaw.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
No.
Councillor Panchuk.
Yes.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Councillor Boyce.
Yes.
Councillor Carr.
No.
Councillor Deniers.
No.
Mayor Christopher.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. You can declare it.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm getting ahead of you.
That's okay.
So the second amendment, moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Boyce, is to add the Community Development Council of Quinney to the report.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, you're right. Community Organized Support and Prevention for $10,000. Right. So it's moved and seconded. Anyone want to have any more discussion on this? Councillor Boyce has asked for a recorded vote.
Okay, I'll start the recorded vote with Councillor McCaw.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Panchuk.
Yes.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Councillor Boyce.
Yes.
Councillor Carr.
Yes.
Councillor Deniers.
Yes.
Councillor Graham.
Yes.
And Mayor Christopher.
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. So we now have an amended motion, which is all of the grant committee's recommendations, adding those two. Any discussion on that amended motion? So I'll call the question. All in favor of the amended motion? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 8B7, Nurse Practitioner Recruitment, Manager Economic and Strategic Initiatives Report Number ECDEV 2018-15. Resolution that Manager of Economic and Strategic Initiatives Report Number ECDEV 2018-15 regarding nurse practitioner recruitment be received, and further that staff be directed to work with the province and others to encourage the creation of more provincially funded positions for nurse practitioners locally. I'll need a mover, Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Carr, you're up.
Councillor Panchuk?
Yes, sir.
I was going to bring a motion further to the grant committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize. Can I back up a bit? I apologize, Councillor Thompson. Yes, so you wanted to make a motion, which is in order now.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to open up the discussion, or open up the applications again for another 30 days, which was bring us to the middle of July, because I know of one agency that had approached me, and I'm not sure whether they got the application in, and I would hate for them to possibly lose it. So I'd like to open it up for another 30 days, because we have that 20 extra thousand that's there, and we would certainly, as a municipality, like to see it utilized as best we can.
Okay, I wonder if I can just ask Director Cousins, because his department administers this, and Ms. Knight is an excellent employee. So the grant committee meets on the first Monday of the month. So if applications were to have a deadline of the middle of July, they would come to the grant committee at the beginning of August, and then refer to the meeting, the only meeting in August, at the end of August. I just want to ask Director Cousins if he feels that this is enough time for Ms. Knight to be able to reopen and process applications, because I think we should be fair to Ms. Knight on that.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, it's to the chair to council, we'll accommodate everybody.
Okay, so that's in order. So you've moved the motion that by the, did you say the 15th of July?
Yeah, 15th of July.
The app will be open until 15th of July. Seconded by Councillor Boyce. Anyone else have any comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, and I apologize for skipping over. Let's go back to 8B7. I won't read it again. Councillor Carr moved it. Councillor Thompson, did you second that motion? Right, Councillor Carr, discussion.
Yeah, thank you. And just briefly, and I appreciate staff for the report. Clearly, as we investigate this further in terms of nurse practitioners, it comes down to funded positions similar to doctors. I did have a brief conversation before the meeting with the Mayor and the CAO and with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the conference coming in August. I'll put forward a formal recommendation that we have a delegation with the Ministry of Health so that we can have a conversation about funding positions for not only physicians but also for nurse practitioners. And interestingly enough, I see there too, in terms of some of the bureaucratic red tape, is nurse practitioners are unable to bill the Ministry of Health directly, which is another impediment in terms of actually seeing their full potential realized in the province of Ontario. So good report, and this will be a good launch pad in terms of those discussions in August.
Right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion's carried. The last one is 8B9, temporary noise permit application under Biola 2011-180, 458 West Moira Street. Temporary noise permit application from Mike Trumbull. The resolution is that Mike Trumbull application for the issuance of a temporary noise permit under Bylaw number 2011-180 to have a mudfest and live music for an outdoor event at 458 West Moira Street on July 30th and June 30th and July 1st, 2018 be approved. I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Graham and Councillor Thompson. Discussion. Okay, you're next. Yeah, Carr.
I actually asked this be pulled. I'm not going to support it. I realize that we put it out there for the CN Police, the Belleville Police, the Belleville Fire, and even Hastings County. We didn't receive any comment, but I recall conversation here in this place last time when this was on here that there were concerns, that there were safety concerns. I'd just be curious to hear from the fire chief, if I could, in terms of, are there any concerns that we should be aware of?
Thank you. Chief McDonald, how are you this afternoon?
Good, thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Carr. Yes, we did have some discussions last year with CN Police at that time, and we worked a bit of a program with the organizers to make sure that the railway crossings had people there controlling traffic over and under. CN currently, there's a lack of CN police presence in this area currently. They're very short-staffed, so it's been very difficult to reach out to CN police to find out what they're planning on. As in the past with Belleville Police and Belleville Fire, we were aware of the situation, and CN police, their primary concern was really the railway crossings, because at West Moira Street, as everyone is aware, those crossings with the steep ditch, the high hill, and you remember when Moira Orchards operated years ago, they used to have staff there actually sort of controlling those crossings, and that's what the organizer had proposed last year, but the organizer has not reached out to any of us in any way to sort of ask us what we would like to see this year. So I'm kind of shadowboxing this issue right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to support it. Quite frankly, a couple of reasons. Number one, the reason for the application is that they're indicating they're raising money for a number of organizations, but we have no endorsements from those organizations. So practically, you could just walk in and put anything down. The other side of it too is that this is looks like a 24-hour event. I don't know what the time frames are. It's showing the duration of the event from June 30th right over to July 1st. So looking at that application, one could suggest that the noise bylaw would be exempt for a 24-hour period, which would be over into the, well into the morning hours. I know we do have some exemptions for concerts and things of that nature, but we still cut it off at a reasonable time for others in the vicinity. This application simply has one day to another day, which one would argue then that by approving this, that at 3 a.m. if they decide to boar hog through the mud and have all kinds of loud music, City of Belleville says have at her. So I think the application is lacking in quite a bit of detail, and given the fact that we don't even know if there's CN police presence in the area, which is kind of concerning, and now that it's out there publicly, it's a little bit concerning to know that they might not even have any security. It's just got all the makings for a real public safety issue, in my opinion, and I think it would be best for us to say no to this. Otherwise, we'll be getting all kinds of weird and wonderful requests in the future, so I'm not going to support it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Boyce.
Just maybe a suggestion in the future, when applications come forward, I think it's very important that a staff be delegated, or be assigned to look at each one and go to the applicants and just ask them, there might be some red flags issued, and I hear Councillor Carr mention that it appears that maybe it's a 24-hour noise bylaw thing, and so who knows what's going to happen, and different things like this. So I think rather than us trying to guess on what's happening, if these are immediately then sent to staff members, if they're not already, if they're immediately sent to staff members, and a staff can speak with the organizers. Some as we've had before had them over the number of the years. Like I think of Rockfest and different things, and we don't need to necessarily speak to them right away. But there's some newer ones that I think some guidance and support might come in handy.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so the motion is to approve it with this resolution. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? I think the nays have it. It's defeated. 8C. Yes. Well, optimistic perhaps. 8C, council information matters. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion. Did somebody? No. Okay. No problem.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes.
I just want to. It's not a point of order. It's just some clarity. On that noise permit that you have in your agenda, if you turn the page to the next one, it actually is not the same application. An example would be Councillor Carr, and you can call me out of order, it's no problem. Councillor Carr and Councillor Boyce commented about how radical that application is, but on the second application, there actually is a questionnaire that says time of activity, time of event and activity, and I don't see it on the first one.
Well, the application, Mayor Christopher, does not have any times. It had, Councillor Carr is correct, and it said that it was from the one day through to the next, with no hours of operation.
Yeah, but mine has it printed in, time of activity.
Time duration of event activity, it's empty.
Okay, that's
on the next one, which was 8B 10, that no one pulled, so we already approved it under consent.
Yeah, it's not the same form. That's all the forms aren't the same. They're not the same. And that's okay. The forms aren't the same, and that's why it's maybe not filled out. But I do have a question of clarity to the chair.
Sure,
when
absolutely.
When they apply for a noise permit, what time are they applying for?
Right. In terms of this 8B 10?
No, that one's identified. They're shutting it down at 9 p.m.
So you're asking about the one we just turned down?
Yeah.
Well, looking at the application, we don't know what time they're asking for. All they asked for was from the June 30th to July 1st.
But is that the format? The applicant tells the city what time they want to shut the noise down?
Can I just have it out?
When they want us to waive the noise permit?
If we, because they have done this event in the past, I think it's reasonable to think maybe they used last year's form and that this year it's being updated. However, even with last year's form, there was a time duration of event activity blank for the applicant to fill out. This, Mr. Trumbull did not fill out that information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. So we are under 8C. Let me Yes, that's what I just said, yeah, so it was left empty. All right, let's try this again. 8C, council information matters. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. Councillor Graham. Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson. Councillor
No, thank you.
Councillor Miller.
No, thank you.
Councillor Deniers.
No, thank you.
Councillor Boyce.
No, thanks.
Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
And I'm assuming the mayor doesn't have any. So I'll just need a motion that all the agenda items be received. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Deniers. All in favor? Carried. A motion to rise and report. Moved by Councillor Boyce, seconded by Councillor Graham. Thank you very much, everybody. All in favor? Carried.
Okay, we're down, excuse me, down to number 9, bylaws. If I can ask Councillor Panchak to read first, second, and third of 2018, 87, 88, 89, and 90, which pertains to the Viridian CHP. I declare it conflict.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I'll just do it from here if that's okay. First reading of bylaws number 2018-87, 2018-88, and 2018-89. If I can get a motion for that. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Boyce. All in favor? It's carried. If I can ask for second reading of bylaws number 2018-87, 2018-88, and 2018-89. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Graham. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And then third reading of bylaws number 2018-87, 2018-88, and 2018-89. Moved by Councillor Boyce, seconded by Councillor Deniers. All in favor? It's carried.
Thank you very much. So first reading of the bylaws that are left that's authored in the agenda, 2018-85, 2018-86, 2018-91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99. First reading of those bylaws, moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Graham. All in favor? That's carried. And just for the record, 2018-97 is first reading only, correct? Yeah, we pulled that. Okay, staff, we got that? We're good on that one? Okay, so I'm just going to make an adjustment here. I did. So second reading of the bylaws, 2018-85, 86, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, and 96. Second reading of the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Panchak, second by Councillor Boyce. All in favor? That's carried. Just for the record to the clerk, when Councillor Panchak identified first, second, and third readings, he got all the bylaws? He got 87, 88, 89, and 90? You've recorded? I just want to make sure. I just made a little note in it, which is fine. I just want to make sure it's on the record. Everybody's good? 87, 88, 89, and 90?
I thought it was just 87,
You never got 90?
88, 89.
Okay. Yeah, we caught that. So would you be kind enough to read
Absolutely.
that, please? Thank you.
Can I please have a motion to first reading of bylaw number 2018-90? Moved by Councillor Boyce, seconded by Councillor Deniers. All in favor? It's carried. Second reading of bylaw number 2018-90. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Miller. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And then third reading of bylaw number 2018-90. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Graham. All in favor? It's carried.
Great, thank you very much. So third reading, 9C of the bylaws, 2018-85, 86, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, and 96. Third reading of the bylaws, moved by Councillor Denier, second by Councillor Graham. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item number 10, new business. Councillor Miller?
Thanks, Your Worship. A couple of questions. This is going to sound kind of weird. It deals with bicycles on East Bridge Street, where we have invested on bike lanes. I've had a concern expressed by a resident there regarding bicycles on sidewalks. The question that I need asked, and this person has asked, and they've talked to the city, they've been referred to the police, they've talked to the police, referred to the city, and I know from time to time we've had discussion regarding bicycles on sidewalks, and whose responsibility is it to handle the bylaws in such cases? So through you, Your Worship, to the Deputy Clerk, perhaps if she could advise me, there is a concern, and apparently there's been some contact between a cyclist and a resident. Nothing serious, but there has been, and clearly we have bike lanes for a reason. So who would be responsible for upholding that bylaw?
Okay, I'll reach out to Director Beauvais.
Through the chair to Councillor Miller, I can't maybe give a definitive answer on who's going to enforce it, but I can tell you at the Transportation Committee, the Active Transportation Committee, we have prepared an active transportation bylaw that deals with that very issue, and it was brought before Council in 2017 for first reading, and at the last committee meeting there was direction to bring that back to Council for second and third reading, and that is scheduled to come back at the next meeting of Council. And there was discussion about allowing smaller children to ride on the sidewalk, especially in cases where bike lanes maybe weren't particularly safe for them on a busy street, for instance.
My understanding is in this case we're not talking about kids. We're dealing with either older or at least adults. So we do have something on the books, I believe. Or is that still waiting for you to finish up at committee level?
Yes,
I know
so
we've talked about it
there is a
downtown.
bylaw that is in place in the downtown that prohibits anyone from riding on the sidewalk, but this active transportation bylaw is not in place. It's just had first reading.
So we should see that very soon.
Next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. The other thing, actually, while you're up, we had a business retention and expansion committee meeting today, and of course we deal with lots of issues, and the Lasprey report that went out dealt on the commercial side of things. We're going into the next phase, which is going to be involving, geez, I just lost it for a second. We were talking about a couple of them. Was it home builders? Yeah, home builders and so on. The question came up regarding the subdivision manuals, which we've talked about over the years, and the lack thereof. Is that going to happen?
Yes, through to Councillor Miller. That work has been done. It's been worked on over a number of years. That there's been many meetings back and forth with the home builders. I think the latest issue that we had discussion with them on was a tree policy for new subdivisions, and there was some disagreement on the best way to move forward with that. That was a project that Mr. Hutchison was working on, who is now retired. So we do have it pretty much put together, but at some point it needs to go back to the home builders, and perhaps we can arrange that through one of our quarterly meetings with them to get more feedback. And then ultimately we want to get that in place. It's dragged on for a long time, but a lot of the work has been done on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Excellent. Seeing none, number 11, Councillor McCaw. 11
Sorry,
or
I
10?
have something under new business if we're still there.
You betcha.
Okay. I noticed, I went through the agenda, I was looking, last meeting, there was a motion by Councillor Thompson to bring back information regarding the electrical contract that we were looking at for the city. We were, sorry.
Just point of order, sorry.
Conflict.
I just heard this. I declared a conflict, and so I will fill out the paperwork afterwards, but I'll excuse myself from that. My pecuniary interest is I have, my direct neighbor is bidding on the contracts.
And your question is?
I'm just asking, is there anyone I can talk to? The report is not here after Councillor Thompson had asked for it, and can we expect that to be coming next meeting? I was expecting it this meeting.
Okay.
Is there someone who can answer that in the audience?
Yeah, we're getting assurance to be ready for next meeting. Rick?
Yeah, through the mayor, that Councilor McCall will be coming next meeting.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Do you want to reach out to Councillor Penchak? Thank you. Okay, number 11, motions. Notice of motions. And I've got a couple of announcements here. Should be short and sweet so we get you all home for the barbecue weather. June the 11th, 2018, I'd like to proclaim the month of June as Seniors Month, and also once again to congratulate Susan Sweet as the 2018 Senior of the Year in the beautiful city of Belleville and also in the province of Ontario. Also, some great events I had the privilege of attending on behalf of council and staff and the 50,000 people that live in the greatest city in the province of Ontario. Had the pleasure of bringing greetings with Right Honourable Justin Trudeau and MP Neil Ellis at the Association of Ontario Roads Supervisors in Belleville, Ontario at the Quinney Sports and Wellness Centre. And congratulations to Joe Reed and all the support staff from District 8. They did a phenomenal job. I think they had between 3,035 to 4,000 delegates at the Quinney Sports and Wellness Centre. And congratulations also to Director Fleur and your support staff. Everybody worked collaboratively together, and we should be tremendously proud of that conference. Joe, you did a bang-up job. Congratulations. Also had the privilege of attending the Tim Hortons Camp Day with Dave Allen, the director of Belleville YMCA. We had a great morning there, a little early, but it was a great morning. Also at the Quinney Sports and Wellness Centre, Director Fleur's management hosted a Red Cross national meeting, and we should be tremendously proud of the staff we have in the aquatics facility hosting a national meeting. There were guests from Vancouver, there were guests from Western Canada, there were guests from Calgary, there was some Quebec. Great accolades and congratulations, Director Fleur and the senior staff. They're hosting a Red Cross national meeting, and they're all volunteers. We should be tremendously proud of that. Also had the pleasure of spending an afternoon last week with 4 Queen's medical students, looking at their future in the Bay of Quinte area and seeing if we can have some sort of partnership and relationship. Last week had the privilege of attending the art opening in 90 years in the arts, Barbara Whalen, which is Fire Chief John Whalen's mother. So congratulations to the Whalen family. She's absolutely beautiful, celebrating 90 years and also art in 90 years. And it was a great crowd at the Belleville Public Library. And I'll just touch on this. Hopefully Councillor Thompson will take full credit of this. We had the pleasure of doing a soft opening of the Belleville sign, the new Belleville sign, unveiling at Westwicks Park on Friday evening. It's absolutely beautiful. Congratulations to Councillor Thompson and your support staff, Councillor Boyce and Councillor Denise and all the volunteers on the lighting committee and all the staff. You did a phenomenal job. On Saturday, brought greetings in the morning to the Cops for Kids event. I got to tell you, that has got to be the largest all-volunteer emergency services family kids event, I think, in the province of Ontario. You cannot move on Victoria Park. And they've done a phenomenal job of bringing all these professionals together. Did I say that cannot move? No, you can move. Correct, you can move. Yeah. And what you see is all the families of emergency services come together to give back to the families and the kids, and it just puts a joy and a smile on all the kids. So congratulations to each and every one of them. And also had the privilege on Saturday afternoon to read the municipal proclamation at the Belleville Pride event at Westwicks Park. Great event, and Councillor Boyce was also there, and I think he attended the parade, and also was MP Ellis. So congratulations to all the families and the friends that participated in the Belleville Pride event. Very successful. I'll go around the queue. If there's anything I miss, I'm going around this way, I'm going around that way. Councillor Panchat.
Thank you very much, Mayor Christopher. I just want to take a moment, and I know it's we've been going for a while, but I think this is very important for us to celebrate the first batch of successful applications for our social infrastructure fund. This is money that we received from our partnership with Shore Alliance Casino. The fund was put out for applications from nonprofit organizations that primarily provide services to individuals who are experiencing adverse social impacts due to the economy, housing, physical, family, cultural, social exclusion, disabled and ethnic, racial, or religious factors. And these funds are desperately needed, and they are going to be going out and doing a world of good. And I just want to highlight them because, again, we should all be very, very proud of our initiative. First off, the situation table. They made a deputation to us a few months ago dealing with Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee, dealing with people in urgent crisis situations. They are receiving $10,000 from the City of Belleville to assist with hiring a coordinator to help them write grants to allow the organization to reach more of the public so they're aware of the services offered, but also that organization can continue to function, which is very important. Street Styles also is receiving $2,000, and they are giving free haircuts to people who are in need, people who are in poverty that can't afford to get their pay for haircuts. The organizer pays out of their own pocket administratively. This event is going to allow them to not just provide free haircuts, but also to provide some bags of supplies for people who are in a crisis situation. Nightlight Belleville. Many of us have gone to their facility downtown, which deals with people with addictions, people that are dealing with mental health issues, et cetera, giving them somewhere to go in the evening, which is a safe environment to get away from some of the temptations that they are dealing with. They are going to be receiving $10,000, which is going to go to help find a facility they can lease in the downtown core, a space of their own, because right now they're using a church basement. Grayson Homeless Shelter. We will have a homeless shelter sometime this fall, and we will be funding them with $10,000 to go to help furnish areas of the shelter to provide a safe, caring environment for those who have nowhere to call a home. The Quinney Ballet School of Canada is going to be receiving $1,000 to help with their Dancing with Parkinson's program. And as I said, I and members of the Belleville Community Arts and Culture Fund last year attended an event where people in our community are fighting their increasing illness. They are not going gentle into the good night. They are fighting. And to see these people who are now going to be able to have 27 one-hour classes to help people deal with mobility issues or living with Parkinson's. 70 people will be helped by this $1,000 contribution from our fund. The Quinney Vocational Support Services will be receiving $6,850 to help furnish the new Reds Internet Cafe with tablets, stand-up and sit-down desks, lounge chairs, rotors, and software to help people who have those needs. The Pentecostals of Quinte will be receiving $10,000 to help with child care activities and maybe part of their playground or other things to help with people who are suffering from addiction, as well as to help integrate or help to settle our Syrian refugees. The Gleaners Food Bank will be receiving $10,000 from our fund to help provide additional food hampers, additional community resources, to provide a cafe for immediate hunger socialization, to provide work boots, garden plants, and community outreach office for their in-house programs. They'll be working with Hastings Health Unit to provide a garden where people can actually help grow some of the food that they will be receiving from the food bank. Eastminster United Church will be receiving $10,000 to help with their open door cafe. We will be that funds will go towards improving equipment and the kitchen area for this really important community service. The Community Development Council of Quinte will be receiving $10,000 so that they can build 10 more raised garden beds and help with their with an additional 12 community kitchen classes in Belleville in May of next year to help with our food insecurity issue. The Community Organized Support and Prevention Group, as we heard today from Ms. Seeley, $10,000 for helping with their organization. Volunteer Information Quinney, $10,000 for their program development, specializing in seniors building stronger communities, helping with senior-specific volunteers programs. Youth Bowl Canada will be receiving $2,000 to help bowlers of all financial backgrounds be able to participate, get the skills, participate in tournaments, and have Quinney Bowl uniforms this year, so they're part of the teams and so they can earn year-end awards and prizes. The Bridge Street United Church Food Ministry, $10,000 from our fund, and that's going to help them maintain their 3-meal programs that they're running out of there, helping with better communication to let people know of the ability for them to provide those services to those in need. To help with our group of cooperative organizations dealing with research to NFI food insecurity in Belleville and to replace some of their aging appliances. And lastly, in this first round, thanks to Councillor Thompson's motion, we're going to have a second round for the next night, about the next $19,000. But the Alzheimer's Society of Hastings will also be receiving $10,000 to provide training to at least 25 businesses and organizations to help deal with people who have Alzheimer's and how they can continue to be useful members of our society. This comes to about $122,000 in this first round, and I'm sure that Council joins me in being extremely proud that we're giving these funds to people in our community who do so much good. We're lucky to be in a community like Belleville who does care about everyone, and I just wanted to take a moment to make sure that those watching at home and hopefully the media will pick up and they can actually identify the groups that are going to be getting these funds and do so much good in our community. Thank you very much.
Councillor Thompson.
3 things that I would like to. Sunday morning I brought greetings at the Gutsy Walk for Crohn's and colitis, and they had a good turnout and they raised a considerable amount of money. And then I went to the St. Thomas Church as they celebrated 200 years in the community, and I presented them a certificate, and we had a lovely lunch at the Greek Hall. And the other thing that's really important, not that the other ones aren't, we unveiled our new sign. I want to thank Councillor Denye's, Councillor Edge Boyce, and Heather Henderson and Anders Ross and the committee for a long and tedious job of picking a sign that we are very, very proud of. It's 40 feet long, 6-foot letters, completely portable and completely accessible. Well received. I hear Councillor Boyce was down there at the Great Pride Parade, and there was a picture in the Today's paper tonight. It's well used, maybe more than we anticipated for it, but the nice part about it, the eye is removable. We haven't done that as of yet, but is it removable so people can get up and get their picture taken in the eye position. The sign now is down at Swicks Park. It will move to Jane Forster Park today or tomorrow, if it hasn't already moved, and it will stay there till July 1. Then it'll go down to Swicks again for 2 weeks, and then it'll be moved. We haven't decided where it's going to go, but it will be at other locations in the city. So beautiful sign, well received, and I want to thank council and the public for enjoying the sign on the weekend. Thank you.
Good stuff. Congratulations. Item number 14, confirmatory bylaw. That bylaw number 2018-100 be the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council this meeting held the 11th day of June today, 2018. First, second, third time, and moved by Councillor Denye, second by Councillor Graham. All in favor? That's carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Carr, second by Councillor Graham. All in favor? That's carried. Enjoy your barbecues.